Hey everyone, welcome back to the Poplar Report. This video is going to be talking about some of my reflections on visiting the Kibera slums here in Nairobi, Kenya. They are the largest slums in Africa by some countings. It's definitely one of the largest slums in all of Africa, which is saying quite a bit. We did 2 days worth of trainings on the outskirts of the slums. We did not go super far into them. It can get rather dangerous, but just how do you live in a situation where there is no running water? How do you live in a situation where there is no sewage? There is just the poverty is off the charts. How do you have hope in that type of situation? Because I know a lot of people here think a lot about SHTF, grid down situations. While not all of you are thinking along those lines, you can also be thinking along the lines of how do you deal with tragedy? How do you deal with things happening in your community that just devastate you and are just devastating? How do you handle all this stuff being thrown at you? Because we're all there, or we all could be there in the near future, whether it's a personal thing that goes off the rails or whether it is something in your neighborhood, your city, or your nation at large. The people of the Kibera slums, or Kibera slums, were joyful. The people that we worked with now, they were part of the church there. There was about 100 plus people that attended that, and we were working with the kind of the leaders. A lot of them are young people. A lot of them were students, whether in college, high school, or the equivalents thereof. They were trying to do their best to kind of get out of the slums and to get on their feet. Like I said, no running water, no sewage, and this was on the outskirts of the slums where they could at least go and get buckets of fresh water without too far of a walk. Once you start going into the slums more, it's just walking paths. It's just walking paths along ditches that sewage and everything else kind of travels through. Very unhygienic and very difficult situation for anyone to live in. And this is the only option that they have. There's not enough people. There's not enough space for all the people. Talking with the ministry leader there who he was kind of working his way to get out of the slums. And he actually was starting to succeed in doing that. But then this news story came across that he was actually reporting on a number of really brutal murders that had happened that shocked even the nation, hearing about these in the slums, children that were tortured and killed by the gangs there. And, you know, someone at the news station that he was working at, they said, you know, isn't that your, you know, where you came from? What as a Christian are you doing to kind of fix that? And that I don't know how offhanded the comment or how pointed or whatever it was, but this gentleman, at that moment, he dedicated his life to making life better in the slums, to bringing light into that darkness. And I think that we all kind of aspire to being those people, that when there's great darkness, that we bring light into it, that we bring joy, that we help people who are desperate and without hope. And it's a beautiful thing to see people doing that, even in the heartbreaking situation, seeing the situation that these people are in, but yet seeing the hope that's coming. And the hope, in this case, coming through, they're doing like arts training, they're doing Bible studies, but then they're also doing like dance and teaching them like practical skills on art, design, working with computers, doing some of these things that they're in. And the place that they're doing these trainings in are basically just flour sack bags were the walls. And that was the walls of this this room that we were in, that was in the slums, and the walls hammered together, pieces of scrap metal and pieces of trees, and just when you see that people just getting by on things, how what they need is not so much stuff, but what they need is hope, and they need people who are interested in helping them help themselves, and not just people who are going to come by and do something just to make their consciences clear. And there's too much of that, where people give stuff in order to make themselves feel better, and they don't actually enter into the pain and enter into the situation to try to understand and try to help and try to encourage, because oftentimes what we need more than anything else is hope. And when difficult times come, and I believe in the United States that the times that are difficult now are going to get far, far more difficult. When we look at places in other countries, Kenya at large, and especially in these rougher areas, we look around the world, Americans have it unbelievably good. And I know Americans and the people in the UK and people in Australia like to complain about how bad things are, but really things are really, really good. But things can change dramatically, radically. The Germans before World War I, things were pretty good. When you look at what world wars did to different societies, it's unbelievable. The carnage, the absolute change in circumstances, and the change of cultures. We have not had that on a large scale in the United States for generations, and we're due. We're due for a major adjustment, a crisis that demands that we all put up or shut up, that we have to overcome. It's a test that comes every generation or four, where there's an existential crisis for civilizations, that they either succeed and continue, or they fail and fade into the sands and time of history. And I don't think that we have the character, the strength, and the work ethic to get through the times that are coming, or much of the United States does not. Much of the Western world has grown so soft that the question is could we ever be tough and strong again? Or is the purple-haired mob really what the United States is all about? 75% of draft age males in the United States are unfit for being conscripted. 75% can't be conscripted at this point. That's shocking, folks. And we're not just talking about overweightness. We're talking about health issues. We're talking about psychological issues. We're talking about criminality. We're talking about lots of different factors that are coming into this that make it so that the vast majority of military draftable age males in the United States can't be drafted. And that's just one more data point that we see. Can we rise to the challenge that's about to come before us? We need hope, we need courage, and we need a change of character. There is an honesty of conversation that needs to be able to take place. There is a need for a genuine care for our fellow men and women and those who are downcast. We need to be able to speak truth in order to protect others, rather than stay silent and simply protect ourselves. We need to have some conversations in the United States, and we haven't had them. We have our echo chambers where we all say stuff to each other, but we, as a nation, haven't sat down and had an adult conversation about a lot of things. And time is coming where we're going to have to make some resolutions on some of these things, because probably something from the outside is going to force us to. Will we have the stick-to-itiveness, the strength, the courage to, like the kids in the Kibera Slums, to claw their way out? Or are we going to disappear into the sands of history? That's something that remains to be seen, but we each have to do the gut check. Each of us are going to contribute to the success or the failure of our future civilization. And I know, stack those rice and beans, but also when the time comes, are you going to be ready to help people, to build communities that matter, that are going to be able to deal with the realities and not the figments, the psychological disorders that people have out there. All right, folks, if you found this video to be, helpful, thoughtful, you might want to check out another video right over here. I'll see you guys a little bit later. Right now, Steve Poplar out.